Good evening, ladies. Good evening. Hey there, Charmaine. I'm so excited that you've joined us.
Hello, I'm back. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. I have I have special stuff that was created for you. And I'm just looking because I know she said she emailed it to me and I haven't seen it yet. But I have like a whole special pink thing for you. That's all about you. But she has showed me the draft, but I haven't had the permanent thing sent to me yet. So as soon as I do, I will be like blasting it so that you have your own little pink thing that talks all about you. It's got your bio on it, the whole 9 yards. We've got your pink story. That's
Lovely.
what, that's how we can go. We've got your pink story. We got your pink
I love it.
story.
I see Stephanie popping in and out.
I know she had let me hold on one second. Let me make sure I've got in the right thing here. I know she had a thing she was supposed to be on. So I'm gonna remove her until she can kind of pop all the way in here. So it's just you and me tonight. I think Adriana's probably still had to be caught up with what's going on with her kind of fiance and as he's getting better. So I'm really pleased that that went really well. So that's a good
Yeah.
thing that, so we're just thinking all the best thoughts for her. So I want, this is not a happenstance that it happens to just be you and me. I want you to tell people more about how you got into what it is you do with this whole purpose of love behind it. So please tell our audience how you got into this love stuff.
Okay. So here's the story. I will have to tell you though, love is
Mhm.
the one thing that even as a kid I would wonder about.
Wow.
I would
Okay.
watch people. I would um my mom would tell me to be careful not to stare at people. And it wasn't staring because I was being rude. It was, I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand how people, like what the movements they were making, like their gestures. I'm listening intently. I'm watching what people say, how they behave. You talk
Mhm.
about love and what does that mean? Um, and I feel like I was always a sensitive child. I don't
Okay.
know if that makes sense to you, but I didn't like people being bullied. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I
So
was
would
always,
you say it was that you were an empath almost because
yeah,
you were able to really kind of tune into how people were feeling?
yes. And I think we all have the ability to like be empathetic.
Okay.
And I had an interesting conversation with a group and they were asking me about how do we teach somebody how to be empathetic? And
Mm.
I said, I think we stop with othering people. As soon as we stop othering people, we start to really say, no, that person has family that loves them or friends or whatever. So, so yeah, I mean, I was a sensitive child. I felt things. So yeah, I would say I was an empath and I didn't like it. I didn't like that I felt that way
Okay.
because there were many, many people around me that they weren't like that, you know? And so I wrestled like with what am I going to do in college? What do I want to do? And all the things. And so how did this happen? I was introduced to a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York. And it
Mhm.
was to become a holistic health or holistic life coach. And the guy who's in charge of it said there's primary foods and there's secondary foods. And the primary foods is, or the secondary foods is what you put in your mouth, but the primary foods is your
Mhm.
relationship, your spirituality, your career, like those things. Those things are things that really feed us. And
Mhm.
so I was like, aha, that was like my Oprah aha moment. Aha. It is about relationships. Like a part of being healthy, we think eating and exercise, but
Mhm.
what about like who we're in relationship with, like who we are as a like our inner size, I say. Like we work out to make our external body look good.
Right.
What are we doing? What's the inner workout that we're doing to make our inner selves beautiful and healthy?
Mm.
And so it's that inner size that that I think needs to happen. So I went down this whole rabbit hole, Lizzy, and I'm going to tell you, it was quite ugly, and I was flailing about, but I was like, I want to understand this love thing. Like, what does it mean to truly love? And of course, the first thing I do is I go to romantic love. That's easy. Let me do romantic love. Because like everyone else, I was fed the notion that love started with romance and family.
Right.
So I hired this business coach. He said, just start. Best, worst advice he ever gave me. It was both good and bad. And I did. And I stayed committed to, it started as something that was romantic. And I thought there's something deeper. It is way, way, way deeper than romantic love. It's in how do we love individually? And I just turned every stone, found books, found all of the thought leaders around this idea of love, and it really started to come together for me how important love is and how we need to take responsibility and accountability for it. So I started this journey in 2010. That's how long it's been. And
Wow.
my life has changed in so many ways, ways that I never thought it would change. It has changed, but I never thought that I would have a company. I started this journey in love. And so, yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it started with me just saying, how am I going to get healthy in my relationships? Because I wanted really good relationships with people, because I felt like that would lead to healing and freedom. So that's a part of my story. So 11 years later, I am here, and doing love very, very differently.
Do you feel like where you are right now, can you say to yourself, okay, if I started from 0 going to 10, I'm at like 9 now. I got this love thing situated. Where would you put yourself?
That is an excellent question. I don't think I can give it a number. I think living love in real time. I was reading this book by Sharon Salzberg that says Real Love, and she was talking. She wrote in her book that she was complaining about a friend, and someone said to her, "Do you read your own work?" And I think, with this journey, I don't know. I feel like I have still so much to learn, and yet I've learned so much. So no, I would never give myself a 10. I don't even know. I would give myself a keep going, honey. Keep peeling,
So,
keep peeling
so
back.
the learning that comes from it has been almost inspiring and feeding and motivating for you to keep going. So it's
Yeah.
giving back. The journey is giving back to you so much. It keeps pulling you
Yes.
to keep going.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that if we really lean into this love, this real love that we're talking about, we come home to ourselves. It is self-recovery. So I do think that I will not get there until the day I die. I think I'm getting better and better, and things are really good. But I still have a lot to learn. And if you ever hear me say that I no longer need to learn anything else about love, or I have this thing down pat, please stop listening to me, all of you. Just be like, okay, she's lost it.
All
Go,
right. We know there's a problem.
please,
Okay.
please, because I don't think that we ever reach some idea that we can no longer be taught things about love. Not in the way that I'm learning what love is.
I mean, I love the fact that you said inner size. I haven't heard that phrase before. But we exercise, we deal with the external, but are we inner sizing?
Mhm.
I mean, do you have a course called inner size?
No, that's what the love shop is, though. It is all the inner work.
I mean, just that word alone is extremely thought provoking.
Powerful.
And I mean, to you, you may not think anything of it because it's just how you think, right? You see what I mean? So it's like, well, duh, yeah.
Yeah.
But to all of us, it's like that's deep. I mean, you said and just kept moving, like you had said nothing, right? And it had me like,
Yeah.
that's a real. I mean,
Well, I just
it's a
think
lot right
that I think we put a lot of pressure on our outer beauty and I mean, if you look at all of the, I watch YouTube and I don't buy the ads, and everything is about eating healthy or working out, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, all these things. And we put a lot of money into looking good on the outside. But what are we doing to be absolutely beautiful and shine on the inside? That's harder work. It is like working out, right?
I mean,
Stephanie used to teach this in our OMO, this nonprofit. She would do exercising classes, and it's hard, right? We squats, all those things are hard, but also the inner work is hard too. And I think people are not willing to do that because that doesn't, we don't have to show up our best selves and we can still move forward and be okay. But this beauty thing is just taken over. And so when people say, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, in my head, I remember thinking, you should really know me inside. That's even prettier. Like if you think I'm a pretty person on the outside, it's really what's in here that matters. Like this is, you want to be around me, not because I look a certain way, but be around me because I am a certain way.
But tell me something, Jermaine. Do you take those compliments? Do you accept them and embrace them?
Sure, absolutely. And I think that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? We classify what beautiful is and all of that. But I accept when people say that, and I don't say, "Oh, you should see me on the inside," but I do think like,
Well, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because culturally, what you're saying is absolutely right. But there's also a subculture, which is the culture of, because you feel that you're not fulfilling those artificial standards, then you become, or a lot of people become part of a second group, which is the group of the we are not enough, but then we commiserate together. And unfortunately, it's also another toxic culture where especially women do not accept compliments in the sense that you say, oh, you look gorgeous. Oh, this whole thing, no. Oh, no, my hair is terrible. The first thing they do as a reaction is to diminish whatever you tried to say, which was a compliment and something to say, I really look at you and I like what I'm seeing. And when I say I like what I'm seeing, I think it comes from outside and from inside. Honestly, I think you can see a beautiful woman who's looking from up her nose at everyone else. And people may look from afar and think she's beautiful. And men may look at her and think she's hot. But I don't think people are coming to her and saying, hey, you look beautiful. Because you know that you're not going to get a warm response from that person. So I think when somebody gives a compliment, they are actually seeing both levels, even if they don't know it. But you should not tame it down by saying, oh, no, this is whatever, fill in the blank, whatever makes you like puts you down from what the other person is already trying to elevate you to. So I guess that's what I was referring to, because I think that's also another toxic culture, which is not accepting compliments and explaining to the other person how you're not what they're trying to tell you that they see on you, which is a self-esteem problem.
So can I jump in here? So I think so, and I totally agree with Aviana that they are not necessarily toxic culture or culture, but that's a self-esteem issue. If you can't accept a compliment, you have a self-esteem issue, right? It's you just, and somebody just all it really takes is someone just to say, You know, folks say, I don't know what to say. Then you just say thank you. They just need to be taught to how to accept a compliment. Sometimes it's a couple things. One is a self-esteem issue. And then the other one is false modesty. And then there's another one that where they have never been taught how to accept a compliment. They've always heard other people say, you know, like they thought to just say thank you would be vain. So they thought they had to do all this placating, right? Mm-hmm. Or they really didn't think they were cute or pretty, or whatever the compliment they received, they really didn't like that. And I will tell you that there are some very, as Charmaine said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. You guys have heard the book Cybernetics. And if you haven't, it's a great book. I think you should read it. And there was a plastic surgeon. He wrote the book. And the reason he wrote the book is because he found that his clients, there would be someone come in, let's say they had whatever, uses something on a woman, something on her face that she didn't like. Everybody has something on their self that they don't like. So this particular case, this person had some type of disfiguration on their face. They changed it. It was so much change, so different that the friends were like, wow, like, who are you? Look totally different. But the person was like, in the mirror, I don't see, you didn't fix it. It's still here. And even though they showed them pictures before and after, the person did not see it, because here's the deal. It doesn't matter what everybody else sees. It doesn't matter what the mirror sees. What you see in here, what you see, how you see yourself matters more than how other people see you, because you are going to show up in the world how you see yourself. You follow what I'm saying? And then in the book psychology, cybernetics, he wrote that book because he realized that some of his clients, once they changed something on them, it changed their whole persona. Like they felt so much better about themselves. And for some people, that was instantaneous. And for some people, it just never happened. It was like, and that's why some people keep going back and back and back, and they keep getting so much plastic surgery. It's just like, that's
where are you?
It doesn't look good anymore. I mean, now it's like, what's really going on? It's because they did not see the change. And why do I tell you all that? I say all that to say it's mind over matter. It's a mind thing. It's a mind thing. It really starts in our head. Everything starts and ends in our head. Look, remember, I'm always talking about it. Now we'll continue talking about it. It's just whatever you feed your mind and your brain are two different things. Whatever you feed your subconscious mind, your conscious mind will act it out. Your body, your actions, and everything else will follow it. So it's like if you watch television, if you watch garbage, I like to call it garbage. If you watch garbage, if you watch stuff that's talking about whatever it is, you're telling your subconscious mind that's all it's hearing, that's all it knows, and it's going to tell your conscious mind, this is how we respond to things. So no matter what affirmations, positive affirmations, whatever you're telling yourself in the world, as soon as you start moving in that direction, your subconscious is going to creep up and say, now, Stephanie, you know you've never done that. Nobody in your family's ever done that. And you know you cannot do that. We've never done it before. You don't even know anybody did that, because you've never told yourself in any shit. You didn't write it down. You just start wishing. So I do absolutely. I agree that. Well, I know for a fact, and we all should know it. If you don't believe me, check your own history. Check the history of your friends. Check it with some folks. If you don't truly love yourself, and I mean love in the sense of I love me, like just how I am, like get to know yourself and love yourself. Two things. Intimately and relationship wise, you're never going to find that place where people can love you the way you want to be loved, because you don't love you and you don't know what you want. It's a fact. If you don't know, and you'll keep having the same experiences, and it's not because you're not an amazing person. It's just that you don't love yourself yet. So you'll keep thinking that person doesn't love you either, and you'll keep finding fault. I'm not a relationship expert, but I have quite a bit of training and quite a bit of experience in that area. So I just shared that with you. Love is a tough thing, but when you think about loving intimately, first love yourself. Get to know who you are.
You're reminding me of an experiment I saw done where about the plastic surgery. Instead of plastic surgery, they had like movie makeup artists come in and give people like horrific scars right on their face. Like they were fake, right? They were prosthetics. And so the movie makeup artist came in and gave them to the people. And then it was an experiment to send them out and see if they were treated differently when they had these scars. And so they, showed them the scar in the mirror, and the people were like, oh my God, that's terrible. Like all of them, the reaction was like, oh, I look hideous. And so they got them ready to go. And they said, we just need to do a quick touch up. So they did the touch up, and what they did was fully remove the scar. So the person went out looking exactly as they did when they came in, but in their mind, the scar was still there. So they went out, they did their thing, they came back, they said, how did people treat you? And they were like, people were terrible to me. All they could do was stare at the scar. And then they put the mirror up and said, we actually took it off before you went out. But because they believed it was still there, they assumed everything had to do with the scar. And it's so interesting to me. Like I've seen that play out in different ways, like in teaching groups of people. And I know sometimes as women we'll be like, they're biased against me because I'm a woman. And we can't even see that maybe the women who have come after us have changed things behind us, or the women before us like paved a way. Like we can only see what we can see. And so it's sometimes when it's someone's telling you like, look, the scar is gone. Like the thing is different now. Look, it's really hard though, because you have this image in your head and it kind of gets burned in there. And so I'm curious, like, have you guys ever experienced that where like you were so self-conscious of something and other people didn't notice it?
I had a very interesting experience last year when I spent a few months at my parents' house, and I found old pictures, albums, photo albums. And I have this idea that I was always chubby, and I was a chubby kid, but I had the idea that I was also, in my head, my idea is that I was a chubby teenager and so on, like my whole life. And then I opened the albums and my jaw dropped of how skinny I was when I was a teenager. Like when there are pictures of me at 14, 15, 16 years old, and I'm just flat. Like, I mean, I have my booty because I'm Latina, but there was no belly, there was nothing on the hips. It was just perfect. And I felt, oh my God, I wasted at least 20 years of my life thinking that I looked probably the way that I look now, which is about 40 pounds heavier than I was in that moment. But I like myself more now, because I do like myself now in a completely different way where I really don't care that much. I don't suffer because the summer is coming. I don't suffer about the swimsuit season or whatever. I just let my body be whatever it is or whatever it is in that moment. But it was really shocking to see how distorted my self-perception was. And a lot of other things that I consider wrong about my face and my body when I was that age. And I was looking at that and I was thinking, wow, that was a really pretty young girl with a lot of, standard pretty features that I never saw in the mirror when I was looking at myself. Wow. And it was just cultural. And I started having the conversation with my mom. And I think my mom, in that sense, she has kind of like selective memory. She always says, oh, no, I never said that. But she was very critical. She was always saying, you're gaining weight, you're eating too much, you're having too many fries, the constant thing, you have to cut on the ice cream. That was a constant in my house. It was happening all the time. So I was convinced that I was hearing that and that was the reality. And now that I look at those pictures, I was like, that was really, really distorted. And I could have enjoyed myself so much and my self-image so much for years. And I just didn't, because I didn't have the mental construct for it. The literal physical proof was there.
There's a picture of me, and I swear to you, I just knew this picture was taken about 18 years ago. No, it might be, no, yeah, about 17 years ago. And I swore I was happy. Can I please be this person again?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Can I
ahead.
leave?
Put it up. Can you show?
Can you see me with my husband?
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
you
I
appoint
am a
to-
rail. Okay, let me just be clear. I'm looking at it right now. Like, I'll take her right now. Okay, look, listen to me. Right now, I'm sitting in sandals. The adults only, because look, wait a minute. The kids were over at the one next door to us, because we refused to be with the. We're in sandals.
But here's the thing, Steph. From where I'm looking, the person in the pictures looks the same as the person that I'm looking on the screen.
Well, I received that.
From my point of view, I don't see a difference where you can tell me, oh no, look how small I was and look how not small I am right now. I don't see that. I see you the same as you see
magic
yourself.
Of this television screen. Because let me tell you right now, my scale, and I got on it this morning, told me that I was a different size. Okay, but I'm going to tell you that.
But I assure you,
I had to learn
it's
to love her,
not
though.
the way you're seeing it. I don't see it. I really don't. I don't see a difference between the picture and the screen that I'm looking at right now.
Well, I received that, and I do. I appreciate you with that. Thank you. But I was thinking when you were talking about this thing, I was thinking about you saying,
no, it's probably, yeah, it probably happens to most of us all the time.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Listen,
you're showing me the picture, and I'm like, what's the,
And I
don't see it.
I was thinking about what Leslie says. Have you ever experienced anything? And I will tell you that, Leslie, I had to learn. And when I say I had to learn, I have learned this lesson maybe in the last 5 years, if I'm being honest. And that was, what will happen if I thought about it differently? Right? What will happen? What will change if I just received it differently? Like, okay, if I didn't, most of the things that happen to us, if you just sat back in the room and just watched, try it sometime. Sit back in the room and watch the drama unfold. And it's not what is being said; it is how the person that is being said to is receiving it.
100%.
Sometimes I say, what would happen if that person was deaf and mute and didn't really hear and couldn't read lips, and they wouldn't even be offended; they'd be still smiling because they wouldn't even know. It has nothing to do with what the person said. It has everything to do with how they receive it. And I know everything. What is it? I don't even know what is it. I don't even know the name of it, but I call it everything. I know everything's not roses and dandelions and unicorns and all this good stuff. But in the real world, I could choose to be that way all I want. You can choose to be unhappy. Today, someone said, someone was like, "Oh, thank goodness you're back, Stephanie, because who would need some really happy people, some energy around?" This person was like, "I'm happy. I'm the happiest person I know." And I said, "You look it. You look it. I can see that. You cannot be, I'm happy, and you have this big, no one's going to believe you. And that means you don't believe you."
I think, and I think so I love just listening and hearing all of this. There's a couple things that came up. I think the truth is, if we sit with, when we talk about body images and what we think we look like and what we see and what other people see, we were fed this unconsciously and consciously. When we look at the narrative of what beauty looks like, it is not our fault when we were little that we were trying to fit into this thing, right? Whether it came from a parent or aunt, kids at school, whatever it was, it somehow got stuck with all of us. And I think, when we talk about this inner work, I do believe that when we start to love ourselves, we expand in ways we didn't think we could, but it takes time and patience. There's a lot of false positivity that says, oh, just be happy. But the truth of the matter is, when you do feel that way, where did it come from? Get curious about yourself enough to say, this was the voice of my mother. And this is actually not me. And how do I lean into seeing myself and accepting who I am? And that's the harder work, right? The easy work is to ignore, distract, positive, false positivity, all of those things. But it is harder to sit with and say, no, I actually do need to sit with myself and really look in the mirror and say, I'm okay, right? I accept me fully. And then do that again and again and again, right? Because there are moments, of course, like I tell people, living love in real time, there are moments where I do feel like I'm not enough. Where I look at myself and say, my God, you have to, like, you're gaining weight and all the things. This is a human experience, right? And this is just getting real and serious, and then moving forward in a way that helps you be well, right? We talk about self-care, but it's really about well-being. And so when we start to, what you all are doing, which is, Adriana, when you were talking to Stephanie, is you were reflecting her beauty back to her. And when we collectively reflect our beauty back to each other and sit with reflecting beauty back to us, because it's really, we get away from this idea of beauty that the world puts on us, right? Because if we look at what the world says, the ideal body, the ideal image, the ideal color, the ideal hair, all of those things, we don't fit it. Right. And the person who fits it doesn't feel like she's enough either. Right. And so I think that we have to look at and be honest with the fact that these things were fed to us. And this is, so we look back at our high school pictures and said, what in the world? But all of us, if we're honest, as we've had that moment where we looked back and said, why didn't I love myself more? And I think that love, when we really dig into loving ourselves, we expand in ways where we not only no longer pick ourselves apart, but we don't pick other people apart. Because we can't say, oh no, I don't criticize other people, just myself. No, you're just as critical of the people out there. You're just not aware that you do it, but you will size somebody up and pick them apart as to whether or not you think they're beautiful, pretty, all of the things, because we do that to ourselves. But when you look at it for what it is, and you really start to, it takes time, because we are fed this our whole life. We no longer feel comfortable not just picking ourselves apart, but picking other people apart. We just see them for being human, fully beautiful in their own way, and we let it go. And we relearn that over and over again. Right. So when we get hard on ourselves, it's not our fault. We were fed this since we were little with what was beautiful, pretty, what deserved more love than we did.
Do you know what? You're reminding me of like two women, and it's like a spectrum that you just painted in my head with your words. So I had a friend, she was probably like a size 4. And I remember her being like, I look so fat today. Like I shouldn't have eaten that burrito. And all I could think in my head was like, oh my God, if her size 4 self thinks she's fat, she must think my size 8, 10, 12, whatever I was at the time, because I've been at all, I feel like, she must think I'm a complete cow. That's all I could think. And I know, and now like in my life, I had worked hard and gotten down to a size 4, and I didn't care what other people looked like. I was just happy where I was and fighting to stay there. And it was just like, so I remember the impact of her complaining about her body made me super self-conscious. And I don't think that was her intention, but that was the impact. On the other end of the spectrum, I remember this friend that I had from a coaching course I went to, and she said, you know what? I'm not going to suck in my belly anymore. Because the Buddha was the wisest person that's ever been around, and that guy had a belly. What if all my wisdom's in my belly, and when I suck in, I'm actually like diminishing my wisdom? And you know what? I'm never getting Botox, because this is the third eye, and I don't want to deaden that. So I'm going to embrace this little wrinkle I have, and I'm not going to suck in anymore, because that's who I really am, and that's where the wisdom is. And being around her, I was like, hell yeah, I look good. Belly, wrinkle all. Like, she gave me so much confidence in the way she talked about her body. And so ever since I've had those two experiences, I feel like I owe it to other people to be more like my friend who said, man, my belly and my wrinkle are where it's at. And so I'm like, cool, I'm going to grow out my gray hair. I'm going to embrace the wrinkle and not get Botox, and fine for the people who want to, if that's really what's going to make you feel confident and strong. But for me, her example of embracing who she truly was, that gave me so much confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's for me.
So ladies, hold a second. So then here's what I'm going to say to you. We're here on the link to empower women and let them know they can be, and they're not alone. How can we, as women, help women, right, accept themselves where they are and what they look like at that point in time? How can we help them do that? Charmaine, I'm going to start with you, and I want to end with you, Adriana, because I want you to talk about what we're going to have to think with some of the stuff. So start us out, Charmaine, on what we can do to help the women in our sphere of influence, right? Be able to accept who they are.
I was simply going to say, be that. Like, be that for yourself and be that for them. Simply start to be that for yourself and for them. I think that's where we start, because we can tell people all day long, but you know the saying, I can show you better than I can tell you. And so I think you show by the way that you love, you show by the way you love yourself and by the way you care for the people around you. And in that, it will allow people to start, like Leslie just said, she had, when that woman talked about the Buddha, like she showed them, I'm not sucking in my stomach and I'm actually being honest about it. So I think when we squarely, again, it all starts with us. Mm-hmm. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the answer to our own prayers. We want to fully live. If we want to tell women or show women how to really connect and love themselves, we have to be that thing.
The being. Okay. Sure. Stephanie, sorry. Go ahead.
So look, I wish I could say ditto to what Charmaine said, but that's not the answer. So let me just say this. One, remember, I have to give you statistical data. So it said that most people speak at about 150 words per minute when we're having conversation, the speed of when we're talking. But it's also said that in our head, we are speaking to ourselves subconsciously 900 words per minute. And most often, those are negative things that we're saying. So it's the committee. Just imagine the committee, right? That's always talking to you. And I would say that to do the work so that they can start living from the inside out versus the outside in, because the outside influences our inside. And so whatever it is, so, be aware of what you're feeding yourself. Be aware. Like Charmaine says, sit with yourself, right? Sit with yourself and do the work, because it doesn't just happen. It's most people, it takes some type of traumatic event or something traumatic to happen in their lives, whether it be a death, a divorce, something, a loss. It has to be a loss, and all. We find ourselves, or we grow up. Most people don't start grow up until they turn 40, right? But right, they turn 30, 40. We start between 30 and 40. We're finding ourselves. And let me just say, when you turn 50, it's a whole nother party. But I will tell you that just look at folks, even my own children. When I talk to them now, they're in their 30s, I'm like, wow, it's a man. So the foundation was there. They were listening, but it could have been something different, because what we say to our children, what we say to other people, words do matter, and particularly repeated words. And so I wanted to tell you that, but I also wanted to, I wrote, because I was writing it down here, because I remember my girlfriend Gloria saying that remember she's on a job and she used to always be at the water cooler, and everybody was like, I'm so tired. First thing in the morning, I'm so tired. So she's like, yeah, I'm tired. And one day she was like, wait, I'm not tired. I'm not tired. Why am I saying I'm tired? Why am I saying I'm tired? And I remember because I'm like this all the time. This is who I am. It really is who I am. And I remember many times in my life when somebody would be like, she's just the most. That can't be real. So it must be fake. So then I thought that I needed to kind of tamper it down. So what I say to the women is, sit with yourself, be who you are. Who you are, only you can bring to the world what you have. But you have to know what it is that you have, and not what other people say that it makes you special, but what you say you're special. What is special about you? What makes you happy? And find that one thing that makes you happy, and don't worry about who else it makes happy. Does it make you happy? And just remember that everything that you don't like about another person is a reflection of what you really don't like about yourself. So sit with that and own that.
How about for you, Les?
Oh God, a couple things come to mind. The two women who have taught me the most about loving myself, I think, are my mother and my daughter. So my mom, similar to the story that Adriana told about the photos, I remember her telling me once, every 10 years I go back and look at photos and I always think the same thing. Why was I thought I was so fat then and I'm thin, right? And it was every 10 years. She said it was just a repeating pattern. So she's like, at some point you got to ask yourself, shouldn't I just be happy where I am? And if it's just going to repeat, why not stop that pattern of thinking, oh, I was better then or better now, or if I lost 10 pounds, like just embrace the body you're in. And I love that. Like, just maybe don't worry about the comparison. The second one is my daughter, who randomly the other day, she's 4, she just turned 4. So she was 3 when this happened. She walked up to me and she's like, Mama, what do you love about your body? And I was like, damn, kid, she just came out with like guns a-blazing. And I'm like, well, I had to think about it. Like, what do I want to say to her? Because she's really exploring this right now. And I was like, you know what I love? I love my legs because they are so strong. Like, I've hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim. I've run an ultra marathon. I ride on my Peloton for at least 30 minutes a day. Like, my legs are strong and they take me places. And she's like, yeah, that's good. And I'm like, what do you love about your body? And she's like, I love my hair. And she has red curly hair. So I'm like, I feel like at some point somebody might take that love of her hair away from her because it'll be different. But right now, when she passes the mirror, she looks at herself, she's like, I love this. And so the fact that she was thinking, like, asking, what do you love about your body? I'm like, I'm going to just capitalize on this. And every day, why not? Why not look in the mirror and at my legs and be like, you take me places? Like, why not say that over and over again until it becomes so ingrained in me that I don't have to think it. It's just who I am. And then move on to the next part that I want to love more of. So those two have taught me quite a lot about self-love in very different ways.
I love all of that. Oh my gosh. Adriana,
I have 2 bumper stickers and 1 reflection. So the bumper sticker was actually a t-shirt that a friend gave me years ago. It had an image of the Buddha and it says, do not believe everything you think. And that is absolutely true. You have to keep in mind that your brain, like any other organ in your body, never stops working. It never turns off. And since it never turns off and it cannot do 100% useful work, guess what? Half of the time is just doing crappy work. It's just shooting things around because it's supposed to be busy. So half of the thoughts that jump in your mind are probably not true. And if they are self-doubt and all kind of negative patterns, you can be absolutely sure that they are not true. The second is a phrase that I think it comes from Eat, Pray, Love. When somebody says, you have to select your thoughts the same way that you select your clothes. When you select your clothes in the morning, you have a certain patterns for it, so you choose something that matches or that is appropriate for the weather, or so you put a lot of attention to your clothes usually. And the same thing you should do with your thoughts. Just choose what works for you, what is convenient for you, and what is good for you at the moment. And just leave the rest in the closet. It's fine there. And the reflection that I wanted to add was what I was going to say a little bit ago, which is when you remember those people that at some point tell you something that was negative and influenced your self-esteem. So somebody called you something, somebody called you ugly, somebody made fun of your curly hair, whatever it was. Or if it was your mother telling you to stop eating ice cream, like it happened to me or whatever. Whoever that person was, I can guarantee if you remember who it was, that was not a happy person. Because a sweet, happy person would have never had the time to tell you those things. And if that's the ruler that you're using to measure yourself, something's not right. And we all do it, but we are measuring ourselves by people who are not happy. So their opinions shouldn't matter, really.
That's deep. That's really deep.
Right. Their
that we're
opinion
measuring
shouldn't
ourselves
matter.
by people
Oh.
who aren't happy anyway. They're miserable, so they're reflecting back on
I'm telling
you.
you, if somebody is happy and peppy, they don't have time to criticize or to tell you that you're
Yeah,
doing
I
wrong.
agree.
Hello, come say hello. Say hello. Say hello.
I agree. Oh, look at the puppy. I agree. Cute, Steph.
Thank you.
I wanted to say two things. So we talked a lot about body. I have to say, one of the books that changed my life that I'm about to share with you now is The Body Is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor. Please read this book. For those of you who love to read, The Body Is Not an Apology. She will get us all the way together. And I love this because as I read all things love, to me this is a book about love. This is a love story written in a very bold way, and it considers everybody. So when we think about body, we think about ableism, people who have lost limbs, all the things, and how we have to include that, and we shouldn't have to apologize for being. But I don't know, I shouldn't assume, but I'm assuming that everyone on this screen wants to fully live. And if we stop holding ourselves back from little things like what we look like, and like, how is that holding us back from fully living into the life we really want? I think that's really important to consider. I have to consider, like, am I not showing up in places because I have an idea about what I look like that won't be accepted? Because I have. Will I not speak up because of whatever? And so I don't want to apologize for being here anymore. I want to fully live, but I think everyone else should have the same right. And I think that's how love shows up, is this is not just for me, but this is for you. My liberation is bound up in yours. I don't want to be free if you can't be free, because I'm the only one free, then it's no fun for me. But I think we should stop apologizing for who we are. And once we let go of this, we're saturated with beauty. I mean, if we just look at ads and everything, we're saturated with it. When we let that part go, now we can take another step into fully living into the life we really want.
Yeah.
So there's a
And
phrase
so
I
how
use.
radical is it? Mhm.
There's a phrase I use. It emerged last year in conversations with people. It just kind of came out of me, and that is that my humanity is beautiful, your humanity is beautiful, and our humanity is beautiful. Because I believe then, and I believe it now, probably even more deeply, that if people were meshing as human to human first before anything else, right? If they could see themselves first as beautiful, which is what you're talking about, right? Fully living and accepting yourself. If I can see me as beautiful, then when I look at you, I'm going to want to see you as beautiful too. But it is the journey, I think, that we are all on, probably more as women in many cases, to discovering the love of ourselves in completeness, like the whole love of ourselves in completeness. So I just think it's in sisterhood. Maybe one of the questions we ask each other is, how are you being today? You know what I mean? And make that pause. Being, yeah, how are you being today? Are you being you today? Are you loving the being that is you? Are you loving your inside, your outside, your up here? Are you loving the being that is you? And how are you being today? And just challenge each other with, when we think about all the different kind of religious thoughts, right? They're always talking about coming to that point where you're elevated from what would be called the simple basic facts of life to looking at a more spiritual transcendent view of life. I think we get to our strongest when we be. And I've personally experienced moments where I allow myself to be, and I call it, I'm in my flow, right? And in those moments, nothing else matters, and I'm at my highest happiness and totally at peace when I be. the minute I come out of being and I've watched what takes me out of it, it's those other thoughts in my head that get too loud because I haven't put something else in there for that day that's louder than those thoughts. And when I don't put something in place that's louder than those, what was it you said, 900 other thoughts per minute, right? Then they can win over in moments. And when I allow that to happen, I find myself being placed. And I'm placed in a place that doesn't allow me to be. But when I take that time, that pause to allow myself to be positioned, I'm good. I mean, I'm real good. Like, I'm sometimes like looking like a Cheshire cat, right? How much I'll be smiling all by myself with nobody else around, right? And just laughing to myself and feeling so good deep on the inside. Because I've allowed myself to be, but I've enabled my being by starting my day, by putting some really strong thoughts with myself about who I'm intending to be for that day. And I've reaffirmed the being for myself and sat with it. Not just kind of like, today I'm great. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. But really sat and bathed with that. So that when I come out of that time with myself, it's planted in me. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, that's some of the things I have to do to allow myself to be. Otherwise, I won't. Even though I want to be, it's not that I don't want it now, I'm going to want it. But to really foster that for myself, I have to give myself that planting time. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I can't last a 24-hour day.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I'd like to know if do any of you think that, or ever felt like how you choose, how you show up is a choice?
For sure.
Yes.
I had a friend once send out an email that she's like, I'm going to tell you about my day twice because you can decide which story is the one that really happened. And it was the same facts, but it was two different accountings. One was like the optimist's view of like, well, at least like it was silver linings and positivity. And the other one was like, well, this is crap. And at the end of the thing, she just basically said, I think you guys know me well enough to know which camp I'm in. And this is just a reminder for anyone who needs it. Everything is a choice. I could have taken either road at any junction in the day. But overall, I still think, even though there was a bunch of stuff that went technically wrong, it was a great day. And so I think like that, to me, it was so empowering because it's like, okay, well, if she can do that with her day, then I can do that with my attitude or how I believe I fit into a group. Like, I think the particular flavor that I have of stuff is I always feel like I don't fit in. But why do I keep saying that in my head? Like, I don't belong somewhere. I don't fit in. They're going to not like me. I don't measure up. I don't have the right qualifications. Like, why would I keep repeating that in my head? And so I have to, like you said, the planting. I have to like sit myself down and go, I belong here. I have a voice. Like, it's fine to share it. People can disagree. That doesn't mean I don't belong here. And so it's like changing that helps me show up differently. So I do think it's a choice, but it's not like a quick choice that you're like, I'm good. It does take planting and marination and repetitive, like daily, like I'm going to keep choosing that.
I like that word, marination.
I like that too. Sitting there thinking, we've determined, I feel like go back and look at it, we were talking about the same thing, but we're calling it different things, right? One time it was all about manifestation, and back that and came back, right? And at the end of the day, that is really what it is. If you tell yourself it's gonna be a bad day, I know I know you've done it because I've done it. Everybody's done it. It has played out the scenario, how it's gonna go down when you get there. Okay, I'll tell you what. If she say, or if he say, I know my mother's gonna think this. I know she's gonna say. If you've already played out how you're gonna respond to what somebody else is gonna say, the chances are high that it is going to unfold just like that, not because that was really what was going to happen, but because you're manifesting it. You're coming in with the bad attitude. You've already decided that they're going to be treating you some kind of way. So when you come to the door, face tight, right? You come in with an attitude, which in turn, people tend to treat you like you treat them. And then what happens? I told you, I knew it was going to be a bad thing. So I feel like a former alcoholic or a former smoker, once or a new Christian, right? You know, once you find something new, you can spot it a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I drop everybody. Charmaine, you know, I'm always talking about that. Somebody says something negative, I'm like, oh no, snatch that back out of the air, because you know, once it's out there in the air, it's in the atmosphere. You don't, you know, it's out there. We got to put it back in your mouth, put it back in there, because if you, so when somebody says, I know it's going to be a terrible day, as soon as they say, I look at them and I say, well, it probably is going to be a terrible day, because you've decided it's going to be a terrible day. You decide. But I'm not going to be a terrible day for me. Some things may happen, but it's not going to be a terrible day. It may be a bad day, but I'm not going to receive it. But it's because we all know it's a choice. But does that mean that bad things won't happen?
Mm-mm.
They absolutely will. It doesn't. Life is going to keep happening. And guess what? You know, I know you probably read it. Like, you know, they talk about we put all this energy into jobs and everything. Well, I know that when you retire. When I retired, before the ink was dry on the retirement papers, they was already planning who was going to take my spot. And when I was gone, it was like, bye-bye. Nobody, like, you're gone. Nobody can. Once you are gone from that place, you are irrelevant, right? Only things we left is what difference did you make in the world? So choose to make a difference. And right, think of in the difference in the world, instead of trying to leave an imprint and a sense of, I'm going to go on this from and lay these people out or whatever. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I can't. So I drive people crazy because now I'm like, oh God, your negativity is bringing me down. Right. But when it happens, instead of verbalizing, I just like, it's time for me to just remove myself, because I know, like, folks' accents, I'll pick them up. If I go to down south, when I come back, I'll be using slang. But when I am using their language, their accent, I pick it up. If I'm around negativity long enough, then I may start, like, it's almost like vulgarity. If people around me are using profanity, next thing you know, I'm cursing. And I'm like, why am I cursing so much? I mean, I'm like, man, I'm dropping them, right? And it's because it rubs off on you. And so if you know that about yourself, and you know thyself, I know about myself that I have to be aware. I can't just be in the room, and I have to be aware of my surroundings. And then, but so I'm real aware of junk in, junk out. And now that I've seen that, now that I did the work, and I know I'm always thinking about subconscious and what am I feeding myself. So sometimes I literally could be in a room and be like, okay, that person is not, just shut it down. I'm no longer listening.
So, Steph, on that note, you have your speakers stuff coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull us out of the space for a second and give you the space to be able to talk about it. All right. So everybody can hear about that program you've got coming up. So I'm about to pull us out, and then you're going to be there and you're going to talk about.
All right. So this is the deal. Have you ever been asked to do a presentation at work? Have you ever at last minute been told, hey, you are the keynote. Hey, you're the MC. Hey, listen, we've chosen you to present this presentation from this group project. And you were like, who, me? No, I don't speak. I coordinate. I do these things. Have you ever bombed this girl here? A presentation. I will tell you, I cried. If you ever told a story, if you have a story and you've ever told it without first preparing and practicing and actually preparing and learning, getting the tools that you need to do it, you will not be your best version of who you are. And that presentation may be the one thing that gets you the job. So if you're ready to move to the next level, if you want to know how to prepare a talk, if you want to get rid of the ums, if you want to know how to have a cadence with your voice, how to engage your audience, if you want to learn how to write a keynote speech, if you want to learn the ins and outs and how an actual talk happens, listen, I have a 4-week class. It's called Speakers Speak Because Speakers Speak. And I've absolutely proven, I went and got trained by the best. Everyone from Lisa Nichols to Les Brown to Dr. Sherwood to Gloria Mayfield Banks. I have been trained by them so that I can get what I need. So if you're interested, it's just 4 weeks, and we'll drop the link in the chat. Speakers Speak. I'm Stephanie Wall. I am the CEO of Speaker Stephanie LLC. See you on May the 20th. What we got? 4 weeks. starts on May the 25th. Have a great time. See you there. And we're back.
Yes, we're back. I wanted to make sure, because something we talked about that, here, many of us, we all do so many things, and there's different times we got different stuff coming up. So we want to make sure that we get you to understand what each lady here has to offer so that you can tune into that stuff. So if some of you are having issues with speaking and you want to be more clear, you want to be eloquent, Steph's the person for you, right? Speak Steffi. Go to her. If you want to know how to facilitate a session, keep people alive, right? And be able to tell fabulous stories while you're doing it, then this is Leslie. She's your girl, right? She'll do it all day long with you. In corporate spaces where people are really stitched up, right? She can unstitch them. She knows how to do it. So that
sounds so dirty out of context. I will unstitch people. We'll keep it clean. It's corporate.
Oh
yeah. Unstitch them.
I
can't with you, Leslie. And it is so much fun. I will tell you that I think the one thing that kind of shut me down was, like almost everybody, including moi. When you go in, it's like, okay, everybody asks, like, what? Okay, so why do you want to be a speaker? So why do you think that you're a great speaker? And almost everybody said that somebody told them that they speak very well, that they present very well, that they were. And Les Brown said, got it. That doesn't make you a speaker. It just means you talk well. Because there absolutely is a difference between a presentation and a talk. There's absolutely, I will tell you that I did a test with my friends, and I told them, my sisters, and it's about 5 of us, I told them do a test, and I had to do it for myself. I was like, I was sick. Then look at the last thing that you recorded and count your ums. It will break you of the ums. Ums are lazy. They are my I was like, oh, why I say ums, I say us. So they made us pay for it. Like every time you said it, that'll break me right there. But then there was this. Les Brown said, why do you say Either you're not prepared, you're trying to think on the fly, or you think you're afraid to have a silent pause. And when you're talking, sometimes that silent pause makes people be like, what she get ready to say next?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. So one of my friends, she was like, well, what am I supposed to say, Stephanie? What am I supposed to say in the middle of the ums? I said, nothing. Stop. Pause. She counted it. She said, oh, Stephanie, I counted mine, and I have, she said, I stopped counting at the 25th I said, yeah. I said, well, now you know. And she's always presenting. And so now when she speaks, it even blows my mind. Just all I do is I just told them that one time to count their ums. Now it's like, who are you? I'm not even 20 years and you ummed me to pieces. Now you are the queen. That, and I want to say, getting rid of the ums, learning how to deal with fear, because everybody's afraid. Period. End of story. Everybody is fearful. If you're going to speak, whether you're speaking in front of 10 people or 10 million people, if you know it's 10 million people viewing, you're like, oh my goodness. But just being able to put it together and to tell stories and how to tell a story. Because telling a story I'll be all over here somewhere. But to tell a story and know the process of telling a story. I didn't even know that was like a real thing, like a real thing.
Yeah, right.
There is really a beginning, there really is a middle, and there is really a portion that you can tell a story. As a matter of fact, there's a difference between telling a story and showing a story. Now, that's showing a story. I had that down to a science because I'm animated. So I'm always with the hands, right? But showing a story. And so I know, and remember, we all know about learning styles. And we all know that, quite frankly, if you're not switching up the voice of different people are talking after, they used to say 20 minutes, but really after about 5 or 10 minutes, a person that if you're not engaging and if you're just blah, 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 then you already lost them. If they're looking down at their phone and they're not looking at you and you didn't tell them to look at their phone, then you lost them. So it was really key things. But if you listen, presentations will win you the promotion. There's the difference between being granted what you needed on your job and getting what you want, or even getting that job. Sometimes it's everything, not just to do with how you present yourself and your appearance. I mean, like how you dress it in your professionalism, but how you're able to present to other people.
So Charmaine, I want to make sure, because I'm seeing our time, you have got some workshops that you've got coming up, and I know we don't have what's it, but I want to give you just like a good 4 minutes to just let people know what you've got coming up, what workshops that they can get into you with, so they can learn to be, and they can learn this loving thing. Where, as you said, the phrase you leave is living love in real time. So we're gonna pop out again and give you just a chance to kind of tell people about this living in real time, right? Just take stage.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I have a love shop series. It's a self-love workshop. I think it's self-love 101. It is an opportunity to come home to yourself, to read, it's self-recovery. It's looking at love and seeing what you think about love. It's exploring your ideas about love. It's really getting to the core of how you show up in love, how you're going to show up in love for yourself. And then I quoted last week Rumi's quote about, and I'm going to paraphrase, but his quote is, love is here, but we have to look at all the ways that we have built against it. And so the self-love workshop first says, let's look at love. Let's define it. Let's get really clear so you know where you're going. So we're laying the foundation, and then we look at big things that keep us from showing up, not just in love for ourselves, but love for other people. So things like fear, guilt, shame, criticism, resentment. We really dive deep and we look at those things in the 4 weeks. And so we have sessions that start in May, Monday for the LGBTQ plus community, because they need, listen, self-love, we all need to have this conversation. Tuesdays is people of color. Wednesdays, I think it's the senior community, and for anyone 18 or older. And then again on Saturdays. Thursdays are for all the people that have taken the 4-week series and they're coming back and taking this journey forward, because it takes more than 4 weeks, of course. So thank you for the opportunity. But this is a self-love workshop for self-preservation, for longevity, it's given us an opportunity to just be here and live the life and love that we really want. And I think it's a practice. So it's an investment in your life. And I think it's something that we must practice. We need to continue to practice this thing. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about the love shops, the self-love workshops. It's an invitation to come home to who you are. Thank you.
Did you mean to put me on the big screen? That's always a mistake. Are we still here? Am I in the show? Am I out of the show? It says we're live and all I see is my own face. Now I'm scared.
I need you to tell people about the stuff, the workshops you've got coming up.
Oh, I don't have any workshops. Oh my God.
Workshops coming up right now?
Well, I have mostly just private workshops with corporations right now. I can explain a little bit about what I'm doing because it might be interested if people want to,
Well, yes, do that. So corporations, if you're looking for somebody to bring in to talk to you about facilitation, she will tell you a little bit. Don't give them too much because they need to pay for it, right?
Fair enough.
If the corporations, but give them a little snippet that they got to give you a call.
All right, we'll do it. So a lot of times what I do is either come in and do the facilitation. So a lot of times people have worked with their teams to solve a problem and they've hit a wall. They've used every skill they know how to use. And so they turn to me and say, can you come help us have the conversations that we know we need to have, but haven't quite been able to get to. So I either come in and organize and orchestrate all of that to have those conversations, or I come in and teach people how to get to those skills. And it's a lot of things like asking the right questions, setting up an agenda, and knowing when to break people into smaller groups and things like that. And so going over that stuff. And the things that I've been doing lately with organizations is having small group interactions on a weekly basis. So virtual, people are burnt out. It's like, come together, let me learn facilitation skills by having meaningful interactions over a 8 or 10 week period. And so those are really meaningful too, because the topic can be set by the organization. People come, they connect. It's like a little watering hole for people to kind of reconnect after this time away and working from home. And through it, we lace in the facilitation skills. And every week they can come back and ask questions and say, this worked, this didn't, what do we do next? So all of that stuff is in my wheelhouse and things I love to do.
Oh, thank you. And Dr. Adriana, I don't know. I know you've had some stuff going on, so you haven't been out like you normally would, but are you still running your clubhouse rooms?
I am not running the rooms right now. I would take private coaching clients though through my Instagram that is on screen. And what I do mostly is accountability. I started years ago as tutoring biomedical sciences to students, and then I realized they didn't need that much the instruction on the actual science. What they needed was to put their ducks in a row. So that's what I do. I help people put their ducks in a row and find solutions when they are feeling overwhelmed, so they can keep moving with more practical solutions and without feeling that sense of overwhelming, of drowning that people sometimes feel around in life. So that's what I do.
Come to our Facebook page, look up the link, right? Look us up. They'll find the little pink, and we will make sure we repost the link so you can join our Facebook group, find out more about the ladies. We are planning to start doing, when the May comes, we're going to start third week of May, putting in a few lives that different ones of us will do that are going to help you learn more about what we do and add to you. So it won't just be this that will be happening once a week. You'll get a chance to hear a little bit more. You'll get tips on live. You'll get some speaker tips. You get a little bit of this, all for the women who are part of the link group, because our desire and intention is to help you to grow, and help you to be the very best you that you can possibly be. And we believe you can be better at that if, as women, we link together to provide you the scaffolding when you need it, so that you can repair and you can rebuild, to provide you the platform when you need it, so you can share the beauty and the wonder that is you, and to provide you that kind of just that nudge that you need. Sometimes somebody needs to push you out there and get you to do those things that you are so well equipped to do. So please join the link Facebook group so you will hear more about what's coming with that. I want to thank you all, everybody, my co-hosts here, all of you. Oh, I'm missing somebody. Well, who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Oh,
Adriana.
Adriana.
Who am I missing?
Adriana, now just lost Renee. I was going to say, what's happening?
There we go.
There we go. So wait a minute. I must say, meet me in the clubhouse on Saturday at 1 p.m. I am doing a session on, did you launch your business on solid ground?
Good talk.
Okay, that's this Saturday.
This Saturday at 1 p.m. I'll ping you. Okay,
good. Yes, just ping me. Saturday, 1 p.m. Yes, I won't be teaching. I'm teaching the nighttime, so I should still be up at about 1 in the afternoon. So thank you all for joining us on the link. Spread the word. We're wanting to link with every woman everywhere, and we're wanting you to link with women too, right? To keep empowering our voices to be strong, so we become more and more and more and more and more than we've ever been before, because I believe that's possible, and we all do here too. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and keep supporting all the women you know everywhere, because we are necessary. We're beautiful, we're wonderful, we're strong, and without us, world, where would you be? You never want to find out. So make sure you keep supporting the women around you. Take care. Have a wonderful evening, and we are tuning out and saying goodbye. Say goodbye to everybody.